right, we're all set.
I like it.
Welcome back, sir.
Yep.
I'm enjoying these morning ones, even though
Me
I was up a little later. My family came over. That's why when you texted me like last night, you're just like 6:30. I was just like, well, let's call it between 6:30 and 7. Yeah. So no, these morning ones are good. I'm up before everyone, and we can just knock these out, and I feel good about this.
Yeah.
Anyway,
9 p.m.
You wanted to continue on, kind of breaking down the book, right? The Richest Man in Babylon. You said it helped you out a lot, kind of getting your finances straight, paying off debts, starting to, realize what's important, how to allocate money, all that kind of stuff. Before we dive in, we should probably just slight disclaimer. Neither of us are financial professionals.
I just assume that people aren't dumb, but that's okay. I guess it's something.
In today's day and age, let's just take every precaution necessary. We are not financial professionals. I am a physical education teacher. Doc Rock is a chiropractor. We are purely talking anecdotally from our own experience, what we read, what we know, what we've experienced, that kind of stuff. So, that being said, would you like to take the floor, sir?
Sure. I think last week, did you get to read any this week?
I haven't. I'm still finishing up the other book. So as soon as I can't double dip. I need to finish one. And so it's going to be done this week. So by next week, I will have something read.
Sweet. All right. So last week we kind of chatted. We didn't get to the end of it, but that's okay. It's no big deal. And I can't remember everything that we had talked about because it was a week ago, but now it gets, I guess, to the fun part of the very first principle in the book.
Sure.
The Richest Man in Babylon. So first things first, one of my friends listened to our podcast, and Caleb, right?
Okay.
And he reminded me that he's the one who recommended this book to me. So I got to give him a shout out because he's like, hey,
credit where credit's due.
Remember who sent you that PDF? It was you, wasn't it? But so I guess we'll kind of just be all over the place. But one of the things I thought was important here too, and I don't know if we talked about it before, but he says that time and study are required to basically accumulate wealth, right? And I think that that's just important. I'm petting my dog, so that's my arm. Everybody who can't see him.
Is that Kobe?
It is.
I'm Kobe. Sweet boy.
He's like, why are you taking me for a walk?
Pay attention to me.
So, and I thought that was relevant because it's kind of anywhere you put time and energy, it's going to grow. So why wouldn't it be the same with your finances, right? Don't ignore them. Don't kick the can down the road. Do what you need to do, and just put the time and energy there. Because, one of the other quotes he has in there is that wealth grows wherever you exert energy. But that's no different than anything else, right?
Yeah.
What happens if you exert energy towards the gym? Your body grows and you become healthier. What happens if you exert energy towards your relationship? Your relationship becomes better. What happens if you exert energy towards your studies? Oh my God, you get better grades. It's just everything in the podcast is it follows a principle over and over and over again. So the principle then here for the beginning is a part of all I earn is mine to keep, right? And he says it should be no less than 10% of your income, meaning that before you pay anybody, any debts, any house bills, nothing, you take 10% and it is yours, period. You have to pay yourself first because if you don't, your money's fleeting away and it's going to everybody else.
Sure.
And it's so important to him that he talks about there that you should tell yourself over and over again 3 times a day, a part of all I earn is mine to keep, and that you should impress yourself with the image of that, which is going back to our very beginning podcast that we talked about here again. What we talk about here is just the principles of life repeating themselves over and over and over again and everything. Okay, well, this guy knew something, right? So it was repeat it to yourself over and over again, embed it into that subconscious, right? And then hold the image of this is what I'm going to do. And he tells a story in there about a man. It's a really good, the book's awesome, but he tells a story about this guy, and he's like carving on the tablet, and he wants to know how this guy became wealthy and whatever. He told him part of all I earn is mine to keep 10% of what you make. So he does that for an entire year. And then the guy comes back and he's like, well, tell me what you've done with it. And he's like, I gave it to my, I don't know who his friend was, like whatever, but he wasn't educated in jewels. But he's like, I gave it to him. He's going over to wherever. He's going to buy jewels from the Tahitians or something like that. He's going to bring them back and we're going to sell them at a higher cost. And he's like, basically calls him a fool. And he's like, why would you, he goes, do you trust bread making to the, the astrologist, like why would you go to a baker for information about how to make a shield?
Okay.
Like he's not a master at that, whatever. So it turns out, and he lost all of his money. It was stolen, blah 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 blah. And he tells him, he says, but don't worry about it. Plant another, basically plant another tree, and it'll go. Oh, that's what I wanted to read. I'm glad we started talking about it. This is important. Here we go. This one. Wealth like a tree grows from a tiny seed. The first copper you save is the seed from which your tree of wealth shall grow. The sooner you plant that seed, the sooner the tree shall grow. And the more faithfully you nourish and water the tree with consistent savings, the sooner you may bank in contentment beneath its shade, or bask in contentment beneath its shade. And I think that's, so he talks about it. He's like, well, you ripped your wealth tree up out of the ground. He goes, but plant another, And so he does, and then he understands, like, okay, and he says in there that even after he spent it, it was easy for him to save 10% because it was a habit, right?
Yeah.
Another thing we talk about, create the habits, right? So one of the things we noticed when we first implemented this years ago is that it wasn't easy at first, right? And like, because I believe that it's a lot easier for somebody who has a fixed income or a salary, right? Like, what's going on, what to do. Like, I think part of, ours is that it changes every week, which kind of then makes it even better because that means I have to put more energy and focus towards what we're doing and constantly rework our budget, which is awesome, right? Because he talks about it right here, that where you put your energy and focus, things grow.
Sure.
But somebody who, let's just say $52,000 a year is what you bring home. So $1,000 a week. Okay, well, 10% is yours to keep. So there you go. $100 a week is yours to keep, right? You have to set that aside. But what we found is that it was very interesting trying to manage all these things, that we would put that away and we'd be crushing it. And then something would happen and then we'd have to pull from it. And then it was like this. Again, I don't know how that would be for somebody who makes $1,000 a week, because you should, because later in the book he talks about you make your budget and all these things, and like you should be able to account for this stuff. But even then, you're not going to get it right the first time.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't rip our wealth tree up out of the ground for extravagant things or bad investments. It was just, we have never learned how to live off 90% of what we make as opposed to 100. We weren't taught that. So there was growing pains in that. And I think that people need to understand that there's going to be growing pains.
Of course.
And you're going to pull from it, and you're not, but you have to be consistent and stick with the habit, right? You just have to stick with the habit and you'll get there. Now it's nothing, right? Now it's just, we just live off 90%. I mean, we don't miss it. We don't, whatever, we've changed our life around it. And that's huge, because you have no idea. Like, you can sit there and be like, okay, $52,000 I bring home every year, that's $5,200. If you put 10% of everything you earn away, that's what you would have.
Yeah.
If you didn't invest it, whatever, we'll get to that later.
Sure.
He talks about that in the book. But I can't guarantee you, but I would strongly guarantee you that if you put 10% of what you earn away, everything you get, you'll have more than $5,200, and it makes no logical sense. Like, without investing, because you'll just realize that, like, more money comes to you than you know. Like, $20 here, $50.
I see what you're saying. So, like, if you're basing this all off, let's say, like, your take a teacher and you're making a salary. So if you plan based off that, but then you take into account, maybe you win a bet or something, or maybe
Right.
you invest in something and you get a little money back and you take that. Yeah. So I see what you're saying, that you plan for something and then you realize that, oh, wow, I actually have more, revenue streams than I realized. I need to start pulling from those too. And then, hey, maybe by the end of the year you have $6,000, right? Or $7,000, and you didn't even realize it.
Right.
So it makes you, what it says, it ends up making you more just conscious of the money in, money out kind of thing. And then where you're allocating it in order to, save, invest, survive, that kind of stuff.
100%. And it's you have to start somewhere. And so I think a big thing is like just a lot of people, if you're reading it, you're going to read the whole book. And there's a lot of stuff involved there, right? And we'll get there. We're going to go there. But it's, 10% is all you're going to keep. Later in the book, he talks about, 20% needs to go towards your debts and that X1, all these kind of things. And we'll get there. But you have to learn first those principles before you then worry. Because he talks about very soon in the book, taking that 10% and it needs to be earning you money, right? It's like he says that each gold piece needs to become a slave to work for you, right? And then that gold piece will have children, and then those children should go to work for you, right? And then you build this basically army of gold working for you. When I first started all of this, that was too much for me to handle. I was like, wait a second, I got to save it, I got to invest it. Then it was so overwhelming because, and I'm guessing a lot of people out there are in a financial situation that feel so bogged down and so overwhelmed that I can't do all these things. Yeah. So it was like, okay, back off. Let's pick one principle and let's just do that one principle for a couple of years. That's it. Let's just do that. And then we'll add another one and we'll go from there. Now we implement the principles in the book, but don't think if you read this book, you got to do all of them overnight. Because again, it's like we talk about all the time. It's a guaranteed recipe for success. It's too overwhelming.
If I interrupt you for a second, like this is a direct correlation to everything I've ever told anyone that wants to make some sort of change in their health or, fitness or whatever in the gym. Like, this is why, directly, I hate New Year's resolutions, because everyone tries, and I know I've said this a billion times, all right? Like, we should set, like, a counter, like how many weeks until Len rags on New Year's resolutions. But it's the same thing. Like, here you are, you're talking about, financial health. I'm talking about, like, your actual physical health. But it's the same thing. People who try to make these overhauling, drastic changes, try to do too much all at once, you get overwhelmed, you can't handle it, so you revert back to what's comfortable and what you know. It's the same thing. Yep. It's the same thing, which is why, like, I always tell people, it's just like, all right, you're 40 years old. You've never stepped foot in a gym before. And they're just like, yeah. And I come in and I love that, I'm ready to work out. I want to come in 5 days a week. I want to train for an hour a day, like blah, blah, blah. Like, that's great. It's not what we're going to do. Like, I'll see you 3 days, and maybe we can start 3 days for a half hour, and then we'll see how that goes for a couple of weeks. And, once that's part of your routine, now maybe we can bump it up to 3 days for an hour, or maybe we'll do 4 days for a half hour. But like, you have to start with some sort of groundwork. You can't just overhaul everything and expect to just adapt to 8, 9, 10 different new things that you've never done before. It's overwhelming and it doesn't work.
Right. No, it's the same principles that we say over and over and over again. I mean, it's awesome. I think that, and again, where you put energy, it grows, right? And so in that, like, if you have $1,000 a week and I tell you, start saving 10%, and then I also want you to put 20% toward your debts. Well, now I'm asking you to go from usually spending $1,000 a week on your living expenses to spending $700 a week on your living expenses. You're going to freak out because you just don't know how to do that yet. Like, you literally don't know how to do it. And then that's going to cause more problems than good, right? So just start, just like the gym, simply
10%.
And I encourage people, do this for a month. Just save 10% of everything that comes into your pocket for a month and put it in an envelope and just see. You're going to be like, what the hell? Like, it's incredible what happens, right? And so, anyways, that part's awesome. Let me look here. Something else I think I wanted to talk about. Oh, well, he talks in there a lot about, so the guy, he didn't seek information from a master on what to do with his gold, right? And so
Okay.
the first three principles of gold are, he says, live upon less than you can earn,
Mm-hmm.
seek advice from, and I say masters in that area for information on what to do with the gold, and then make the gold work for you, right? And so that's basically the principles of everything. And then he says, this made me laugh because he says a small return and a safe one is far more desirable than risk when talking about his gold. And I was like, insert the ETF. Like, I'm gonna get so excited.
Yeah, man.
Man. So, anyways, we're not going to talk about the stock market because we're definitely not experts on that. But
No.
it just made me laugh.
No, it's
What else?
definitely nice when you read something that like reaffirms like something that you believe in. You're just like, oh, good. This guy agrees with me, and he knows what he's talking about. So,
He definitely knows what he's talking about. And that's what I love about this book is that I believe that there is not one person. I don't know where it is. If you do the book, if you read the book and you
Yeah.
do what it says and you do it correctly, just like the original podcast we said about values and goals and all these things, it works 100% of the time.
Mm.
If it didn't work, you didn't do it right.
Yeah.
Like it's that these are all truths. Like it is how money works. Like it's that simple, but that complex and hard. It works 100% of the time. So anybody who's like, well, I did it, but like,
Yeah. Well, then you didn't do it.
And not to be like, I don't know, whatever, but if we got out, if we got out of our situation that we were in and or where we're at now, I promise you're probably not in a worse situation than we were. Like you just, and if you were, this is the way out because it got us out.
Yeah.
Like that's why I'm super passionate about this book specifically, right?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I still believe that we hold these, and I think we talked about last time, these beliefs that money's bad in this country, right? You're raised on that belief system. And
It's funny at like I forget if we said this or not, but it's like it's almost like at a certain point because everyone's trying to accumulate it, and then once you have it, you like turn into the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand because there are obviously like douchebags who are super rich and like take advantage of people, like blah blah blah.
Money's just like steroids; it makes you more of who you.
Yeah. Okay.
If you're an asshole, you're going to be an asshole.
You're going to be a bigger asshole. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but like, and that's so like but I think, and I think it's just in general what we do is we highlight one specific vocal minority and then blow it up to be the entire group.
Yeah, I heard a guy speak one time. I love this. I loved it so much that he's very wealthy and he does not volunteer his time at a soup kitchen. And so people were like getting on him for not, like, in essence of this story, right?
Okay.
People were not getting on him for like not donating his time,
Giving back,
right? Giving back, right? And he was using soup kitchen as the analogy, right?
Yeah, whatever, anything.
And he was literally, he got so mad. He goes, "Motherfucker, who do you think bought the soup for the soup kitchen?" He's like, "I bought the soup that you get to hand out at the soup kitchen." And now I understand people usually make it and take it there. But the analogy is, he's like, I give more a year than everyone's salary that goes to volunteer at the soup kitchen. I give more of my finances. Like, give however you choose. Like, don't judge me because I have money.
Yeah, and then there's also like, and again, not to like rag on people who are volunteering, but like there's also people who like volunteer like the one day on like Thanksgiving to like feel good about themselves and like they don't do a damn thing the rest of the year. Like, yeah, like, so like honestly, who's really doing more? Like that kind of thing. Right. So like, yeah, I get it. It's just an odd concept because everyone, it's funny. And I think it happens with, a bunch of things, is everyone's always striving for something. In this particular situation, it's accumulating more money or wealth. And then once you reach that goal, it's like you change teams and you become like the enemy as opposed to like, you know, I succeeded. Like, let me show you how to succeed. It's just like, oh no, now you're an ass. Like, what happened? Like, we're all trying to do this. Honestly, yeah, I think it's just jealousy. I mean, that's what it has to be.
I mean, it 100% is, and I think in that, everything kind of comes back to that. I was actually having a conversation, and this is super off topic, but I was having a conversation with a buddy last night. Our culture condemns sexuality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like churches condemn sexuality. Politics condemn sexuality, right? Like you don't be sexual. Schools condemn sexuality. Like all these things condemn sexuality and want to suppress that urge, right? Like, and whatever, we can do something about this later, but could suppress that urge.
Yeah,
and then now we've suppressed the urge for you to literally experience what you're neurologically designed to do as an animal, right? At our basic needs. We've suppressed that and tried to tell you you're a bad person because of it. And then guess what we're going to do? We're going to sell you with sex on everything. Everything sex.
Yeah,
the same news station, which I don't watch, but I guarantee you, I don't watch them, but I guarantee this. MSNBC, Fox, CNN, whatever other one is out there, the same news broadcaster that are going to condemn sex, right, and want equality and all this other shit, they don't have one fat or unattractive woman working on the news station in front of the camera.
Yeah, they're all like beautiful people.
Right, they're all gorgeous.
Yeah.
So, but nobody thinks about this, right? It's like, okay, I'm sure that there's a fat woman that came down to the end interviews.
Yeah.
And she didn't get the job because she wasn't as pretty.
Yeah.
Like, but then we're going to turn around on our news station and condemn sexuality, even though we're using it to sell it to you.
Even though that's how someone got a job, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It with our company. And sports are the best. Watch any, like, are you kidding me? It's one smoke show of a woman with a bunch of old white and black dudes that either played the sport or have covered it for 70 years.
Yeah. No, dude, it's every sports talk show now is an absolutely gorgeous woman, and then just two like old guys who are like washed up and like don't even like remember like the sport anymore, or they didn't even play the sport and they're just like an analyst or a journalist is the word I'm looking for.
Right.
And like that's it. Like it's 100%. Yeah, it's
like, give me a break, and no one seems to see this. It's like, oh gosh. But
I think we all. I mean, I don't know. I think we all see it. I just think it's been so ingrained in us at this point that like it goes like right over the top.
Right. Well, in this, I think it's important too. I was listening to a guy speak, years ago, and he was talking about, again, people want to condemn money and earning money, and he goes, well, let me ask you, what are you going to do when your parents need to go into a nursing home and they don't have the money for it? He goes, I have the money to put my family in the best nursing home there is. They're going to be taken care of. He goes, so before you condemn money or the fact that I have it, really think about all these other things that come into play in life, like how much good you can do, how many people you can help, and how much good things there are on the planet.
How many times do you, not you, but people, do you're in a good place, you feel like you're starting to like save a little bit of money or, whatever. And maybe you're kind of living like you don't have like accumulated wealth. You're just living paycheck to paycheck. And then something terrible comes along, like your car breaks down. Like there's nothing cheap about anything on a car, and that just sets you back. And now you're almost starting from square one again. Like, so is it a better position to like, not have money because maybe now you're a better person because of it, but now like you can't even pay like to fix your car? Or which you now need to get to your job probably and to get groceries and all that other stuff. So yeah, like I see it's a very weird kind of dynamic.
And that's really, I think, the huge underlying issue there is that we've been brought up in a society to condemn that. And I think
we condemn a lot of things in this society, but that's a whole other thing.
It is. But we're in this place now where everybody wants, especially with everything that's happened, is they want the handout, right? They want money, and that's fine. But we're just giving people fish. Like, we're not teaching people how to fish.
Yeah.
You have to teach people how to fish, or else you're never going to live in a prosperous country or nation. Like, it's never going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I love that metaphor. Is that in the Bible?
pretty sure it's in the Bible. Pretty
But it's
sure
true.
it's there.
It's true. Like, yeah, you can. And if anyone doesn't know the metaphor we're talking about, metaphor, analogy, I think it's an analogy. But English. But like what you're talking about is, give the man a fish and you feed him for a day, but teach him to fish and you feeds himself for life. It's basically just teaching people the basic skills to take care of themselves. No one says that you have to invest all your money in something or create a business or to, do whatever, but at least learn and apply the skills to keep yourself and your family in a financially healthy place. Like, no one wants to be the person who's one, car part replacement away from losing everything, like losing your apartment and, not being able to feed your family and blah, blah, blah. Like, that's a terrible way to live. And it's scary. And then that then compounds, which is why, like, having money problems then bleeds into everything else. It bleeds into your relationships and your social life and everything.
Like, again, the feeling is the secret to everything. So let's just take time. Everybody's had a sum of money in their hands at one point or another. Everybody. Just go back to that time and tell me how you felt. Even if you were 12 and you had $100 in your wallet because you got a bunch of Christmas money.
Dude, if I was 12, I got $10. I was ecstatic.
Exactly. So if that makes you feel that way, then it's inherently good. Like, money's not the root of all evil at all.
Yeah.
A lack of money is the root of all evil. Rich people aren't robbing each other.
Yeah.
Well,
no.
Debatable how you want to go about it.
Yes. But I see what you're saying.
But it's the lack of money that's the root of all evil. So teach a man to fish, you feed them for their lifetime, but also then you can rid a lot of evil, because it's not. That's my viewpoint on it, right?
Yeah, and I think some people would also make the argument it's also the drastic, like, distribution of wealth. You know what I'm saying? So, like, there's, like, that giant divide of the people who have a shit ton of money and then the people who don't.
And what I love about that is he addresses it in the book, and the only difference is those people understand the principles.
Okay, so is that something that you're going to dive into at some point or another? Because I think that would be. Maybe not today, but at least because if you're going to do it at some point later on, like, I don't want to, like, dive into it right now.
We definitely can. I can't remember if it's. I've read it so many times, the whole book. Like, I don't remember what's in what.
Where specifically?
So, but I think that it's in the next chapter, because what we'll go over next week is the 7 cures for a lean purse.
Okay.
And what happens is this. It's based in Babylon, and, like, it's the city, all this stuff, right? And so
so if anyone's just catching up, it's this book. It's a fictional book, but it's based off, like, real principles. Like, he kind of creates this scenario, right?
Much like The Alchemist, right? The Alchemist is a fictional book based off of real life principles. So it's a story. He uses a story to teach, right? Like we've done for centuries.
Yeah.
So basically, in Babylon, what has happened is they built. I don't remember what it was, but they built up the city. And now that work is done. And because that work is done, the city is poor, right? The people of the city are poor.
Okay.
And so the king finds out, like, he's like, I don't understand why the city's poor now, right? And so he called, and in short, again, read the book, people, but in short, he called on the richest man in Babylon, right? And so he brings this man to him, and he was like, how have you obtained wealth? Why is there no more wealth in our city right now? And we desire to be the most powerful city in the world, and the most powerful city in the world needs to be the wealthiest city in the world. So how do we do that? And he basically explains to him that in the process of building, expanding the city, that there were laborers that needed to be paid, and there were miners that needed to be paid, and there were people that needed to provide food and clothing for those people, and then entertainment for those people. And just like we see all the time, right? Those people, and because they were paid, they had money to spend in X, Y, and Z, right? And it trickles down.
Sure.
And so what they found in this city is that when all that was done, all of that money that was paid out fleeted through the hands of those laborers and went back to the wealthy, right? And he was like, well, why? And he's like, well, they don't understand basically the principles of money and how to acquire it, how to invest it, and how to make it grow for themselves. Because if they did, they too then would become wealthy individuals.
Sure.
So that's how the landscape of how this entire thing starts is it literally is describing a one tiny little percent that has all the wealth and how to teach the other percent to become a bigger percent. Teach this in fucking schools, and in 2 decades, you know what I mean, and in a generation, we're the most prosperous country in the world. Like, teach this book in school and you fix it all.
It is amazing to me, as someone who does work in the educational field, how stuff like this is completely. Now, I wouldn't even say glossed over because it's not even touched.
My buddy.
Go ahead.
Oh, my buddy, I think his kids go to school in Jersey. I can't remember where. Yeah, they go to school. His school now has an entire curriculum that his daughter has to learn for about LGBTQ.
Oh yeah.
And he's got a whole. He basically has an appointment with the board to be like, you haven't even taught my daughter how to balance a checkbook yet. Like, what?
Yeah.
What's happening right now? Like, just leave those people it's do whatever they want. Like, why do we? Anyways, that's
no. It's nuts because here I am. I'm 31. Yeah, I'm 31 now, and I would say I never. So like I never really even like thought to like pay attention until me and Kristen bought our first place, and I was just like, I need to start fucking paying attention to this stuff. Like now I have like a mortgage and bills to pay and blah blah blah, right. And like I just gotten a job as like a teacher, and by no means does that make me wealthy at all. But that's So I would say I was 29 at the time, so I was just like, all right, like I need to start like paying attention and figuring out like what the hell I'm doing. I wish I had learned at 19 in high school as opposed to being 29 and trying to figure it out on my own with zero guidance. Like these are principles that people need to know, and I think again, my personal opinion, but I'm pretty sure you would agree, and most logical people would. The more people that know this kind of stuff and that are able to, manage their money and not just spend it on stupid, frivolous things. And again, my opinion, stupid, frivolous things, but like, nobody needs the iPhone 17 or whatever's out right now. It's the same goddamn phone. It's like $3,000 at this point. Like,
Christy's dad still has the iPhone 3.
That is amazing. I think my brother still got like a 4 or 5. I picked it up last night and I was just like, this thing is so tiny. But like, good for him. Like I think this is a 6. So I'm gonna like it. I don't know. Again, my own personal opinion. But the more people that like learn this stuff, now people are able to kind of pick themselves up. And to me, again, through my experience and even training and in education, whenever anyone ever like thanked me for like my help with thank you for helping me like get stronger or lose this amount of weight or learn this or whatever.
Right.
I always say like, look, I didn't do anything. I just kind of like put you in the right position, gave 100%. You a little bit of guidance and made sure you didn't like hurt yourself. You did all the work. And I think that's what people want to know. Like people don't want the handout. Like, sure, when Donald Trump cuts me a $600 check, like I'm going to take it. Thanks.
Yes, right into the stock.
But I think exactly. But I think what people want is to be self-sufficient. Because don't you feel so much better when you 100%. Do something and you accomplish something and you set out to do it and you achieve it and now you look back and say, "Wow, look how far I came today," as opposed to where I was a year ago, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. Like that's what people want. People don't want to be like, "Here's $600." that's really not going to help anyone that desperately needs it, like right now.
Yeah.
But
And that's like, again, it's that principles, it comes
yeah,
back to it. Like it's good when you accomplish things. He says it in there. I think we talked about it last time, casting a stone. Like if he walks past a lake and he says, every day I walk past this lake, I'm going to throw a stone in. I'm not going to grab a handful and throw it in and be done with it. And he literally says, if I can't do small tasks to completion, how will I trust myself to handle larger tasks that are important to completion? And you won't. It's all about building momentum. Literally everything you just said is that if you dig yourselves out of, like, and I think he says, like, the depths of despair in the book, whether it's physically, emotionally, or with finances, you've done the work. You have this new platform. Like, you're looking at the life from a whole new vantage point now because you're like, I did it. I can do it again. If you talk to people who are successful that have started their own business, they're not worried about going bankrupt. They're not worried about failing because what happened on their way to creating that business, they fucked up so many times that they learned these principles that it doesn't matter.
yeah.
100% of good entrepreneurs, good ones that have created real businesses, will tell you that if they lost it all tomorrow, they don't care. They could build it all back up again because they learned how to do it.
Dude, I actually, so I finally, I need to start doing these more often, but I finally put together like a little, isometric training video, how to do it, why to do it, blah, blah, blah. It's up on my YouTube channel. Shameless plug for myself again. But every time I do a video like that, not one of these like podcasts, but every time I do a video on my own that I put up on my YouTube channel, I always start off with like a quote. Like, it's like I start off with my logo and I put up a quote. And the quote that I chose, and the only reason I'm bringing this up is because it's like literally, you almost like said it word for word, is not that, like, I think I have it here, but in general, it says, failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of success, or something like that. So yeah, so like these people who have, created these, empires, companies, businesses, whatever, they've failed probably more times than you've tried. And what they'll tell you is that, if I fail again, I'll just do it again. And if that fails, I'll do it again and I'll learn from it.
Right. I mean, I listened to Jordan Belfort talk, and it was something like they had a statistic that, like, that's the Wolf on Wall Street guy for people that don't know.
I'm just picturing Leonardo DiCaprio, but yeah.
Yeah. But he said something like when he was selling like meat and seafood door to door, it was something like only 25% of people would say yes. And he like broke the sales record the first day, and he was like, I loved hearing no. He goes, because I just kept track, and every time there was a no, it meant I was one closer to a yes. He's like, it's all your mindset and how you view it. He's like, if it's 25% and I have to talk to 100 people, the sooner I get to 75 no's, the sooner I'm getting to my 25 yeses. He's like, but people need to have that mindset, right? Like, it's okay. When you do this 10%, you have to pull out of it. Good. That's one of your 75 fuck-ups. You're closer to the 25%.
Yeah.
And I think that, too, one thing is the iPhone, right? You don't need it. But let's just pretend somebody's super passionate about technology. And that's like, they want that iPhone. Yeah. I could give two shits because I use 3 apps on my iPhone and that's it, right? And, so if the person's passionate about that, we're not saying not to have it. He even says in the book, when you figure out your percentages, saving, let's just say all you do, you don't have no debt and you're going to save 10% and invest it. Well, you live off that other 90. Live. You're not meant here to you're not put on this earth to not live.
Yeah.
So take 90%, and if that's $900 a week, depending on where you live and what kind of food you want to eat and all these other kind of priorities, budget it in. You're in control of your budget. Save, buy the iPhone. You don't need to have it tomorrow, right? Out in September, prepare for it. And it will feel so good to buy it that way because it doesn't, if you're being honest with yourself, if you go and buy that iPhone on a credit card, it has created more stress. You get that immediate dopamine release, like I got it, right? 4 days later, when you see that you're at 18% interest rate on that $1,000 iPhone, it creates so much more stress in your life than convenience. And don't give me the whole like it makes me money bullshit thing. Like Everybody, that's their thing now. Like, this is how I make my money. It's my business.
What, your phone?
Yeah, that's what everybody
Oh,
says.
all right.
Because they post YouTube videos and Instagram
Oh,
videos.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. Like, give me a break.
Yeah,
But
good for you.
anyways, I digress. It's not making you more than 18% interest on your $1,000 iPhone, or else. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
You know, but so I think it's important too to spend money. Like, it's good. You should have nice things, and you should set goals, and you should achieve those goals. And I don't know. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
That part. The book gets a lot more in
No,
depth.
it's what you're saying is like, don't, if you're doing what you're supposed to do, save your 10%, if you're going to say like the other 30% to pay off debt, whatever, or 20% to pay off debt, whatever. Don't deprive yourself. If you're doing the right things, don't deprive yourself just to spite yourself. Like, if you're doing the right things, splurge a little bit. If you can afford to, splurge a little bit. Get yourself, go out to dinner to the nice steakhouse. Buy, I don't know, something that makes you happy. Like, whatever.
I mean,
but I think the biggest principle is don't do those things if you're not doing the other things that you're supposed to be doing, like the saving the 10% and paying off the debt and that kind of stuff.
Correct. Finances are a lot, and I'm passionate about it because I believe this.
Well, it's important.
It's important. Yeah. I believe that, and you touched on it earlier, that financial lack, stress around finances, whatever you want to call it, nothing's separate, right? Like a tensegrity model. Like you take one piece out, the whole thing falls. It's all built on top of each other. Finances are massively important to all of that, because if you want to be healthier and you have more money, you have the potential to become healthier. Mm-hmm. You can do things that produce health. Like, you can buy grass-fed filet mignon every day, or you can buy fish right out of the ocean. Like, I go to a fish market down here. Literally, it's Captain Clay's. If you're ever in Florida, you on vacation down here in Delray, go to Captain Clay's. They go every day. It's called Captain Clay and Sons. They go every day. You can call at 7 in the morning, and they'll tell you what they've caught or what they're going to have, and you can get there by 10. And I made homemade fish sticks the other day for my family, right? Nice. We made homemade fish sticks. The fish came out of the water at 5 in the morning, and it was on my plate at 5 p.m. Obviously, that's more expensive than the whole food stuff that sat there for a week.
Yeah.
Okay, it's obviously light years healthier for me. So
it's fresh.
So however you want to frame it, money gives you more potential in life. So it isn't bad. And you can't, money's really nothing. Like, if you want to talk about it, it's literally ones and zeros on a piece of paper or on a computer. Like, if you break it down,
now it's basically ones and zeros on your phone. Like, there's less and less actual like money transactions going around. Right. Now it's just little numbers that's being transferred from a bank account to another bank account, or a credit card, or to a bank account, or whatever.
I truly believe that if you trace that all the way back, like just go all the way back to where that comes from, you could just add or delete shit and no one would fucking know. Like, it's
probably not.
Yeah. If you could go back as far as you could go with that, I mean, come on. But it affords you the ability to have not just nice things in life, but you can take better care of your health. You can take better care of your children. You can take better care of your spouse. And if you have financial stress, I guarantee you, this is a huge one. If you have a significant other, if you have financial stress, your sex life is lacking. Guarantee it, right? Yeah. Because it will hinder your desire to procreate and to do all these things. And if it isn't lacking because you don't have finances, and then you step into being financially secure, then you're going to realize that it was lacking and what this new potential is. Like, I mean, it's very true. We've experienced it with our lives, and how it puts such a massive toll. For years, we didn't go on a date. For years, we almost forgot how to have fun together.
Yeah.
And so getting this book not only brought us out of the depths of despair of finances, but it brought us into a whole new light of love for each other, right? And that leads into everything. I'm in better health than I am now than I was when I was 24 playing college football for a team that basically had access to whatever you needed.
Yeah.
I'm in better health now. Like, because I can afford things that are better for me, right? Like I take top of the line supplements, and it's, anyways, but it's very important, that concept that money's bad and you should live broke and poor.
Well, to me,
especially religion.
yeah. No.
Mother Teresa wasn't poor. Mother Teresa, okay, but this is important. She may not have lived an extravagant life, but she understood the true essence of wealth, because all she had to do was make a phone call and there would be a private jet there to take her wherever she needed to go.
Yeah.
She may not have monetarily owned that jet or that money, but she had access to it, and she understood that there was abundance around her all of the time.
Yeah, well,
do you see what I mean?
Don't even get me started on the church and the fucking
they want
hypocrisy of, you all be poor, but give us
10%.
give us $10 every Sunday while we talk to you about our magical book. Anywho, I forget what I was going to say. What's up?
While you're thinking about that, there's a church in Memphis that I love it. They have this huge picture. They have this huge statue, like huge. I don't even know how tall, but a couple stories probably tall. And it's the Statue of Liberty. Okay.
Wait, at a church?
Yeah, at a church.
Okay.
But she's holding a cross instead of the light.
Oh God.
And I'm like, there's people. I mean, there's probably 20, 30,000 people going to this church every Sunday. No, I'm not condemning religion. Whatever. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Simply, I'm asking you, it's a question. Where the money came for this enormous
Yes.
It was probably $500,000. Because I'm sure you bought that with
Well, dude, it's one time I was visiting a friend in Florida, and he took me to church. And when I was younger, I went to church, and it was like our community church, and it started off as like a small building, it became bigger, blah blah blah. To me, I thought that was big. Like, it was a church up on a hill. It was like literally like the picturesque church on a hill, like blah blah blah.
Right.
So he took me to one of these like Florida mega churches, and I walked into this place, and I was just like, "Where the hell am I?" It was like I went to see. Couldn't even say like a Broadway play, because it was like 10 times the size of like a Broadway theater. It was like I went to some event, and I was just like, "How on earth?" And again, I'm not going to say I condemn religion. However, I also think most of the worst aspects of humanity are highlighted through religion.
My thing is, I just think that you should. There's a really good book called Immortality Key: The Religion with No Name. I recommend everybody reads that. That's pretty dope. It's a pretty awesome book.
So I think my biggest issue, like I'm not against like spirituality and like believing in like a higher power. Like I'm very open to the idea that there's something out there that is, more powerful than myself. I'm very open to that option. I'm sure there's many things out there that are more powerful than myself. Where it loses me is then like, this God is the one true God. Like I'm sorry to hear or to say it, guys, there is no Christian God. There is no Muslim God. There is no Hindu God. Like, why on earth would we think that us came up with, this is the right one. Yours is wrong, but mine's okay. Like that to me is just like, come on. Like, are we serious? Like,
it's interesting because two things for everybody out there. This is a great example. There's a couple good examples here. One, Len and I have different spiritual beliefs, but not that much different. Like, I'm very big in spirituality. I'm just a little farther, I think, down the road than you are now, right?
Probably.
If we're just calling it this. But and that's not right or wrong.
But I think it's also like it's a spectrum. Like, what do you consider to be like spiritual? Like,
right. And so that, I think the point I want to make here is that we have an amazing relationship, and with not having to believe the same things, right? Like, and I don't really listen to Joe Rogan anymore, but someone told me to listen to the Matthew McConaughey one.
Ever since he moved off YouTube, I don't really listen anymore.
I didn't even know it was off YouTube, but basically, I listened to the Matthew McConaughey one. It was pretty good, and but he was talking about how before social media and this like crazy reactive culture we have, he was like, I think, don't quote me because I can't remember, but he had somebody that was like a neighbor that was a different religious belief than him. Let's just say they believed in Allah or something. I don't know. I can't remember that part, right? But they were like super good friends because he walked over and they like their kids played together and they talked to each other and they had great relationships with each other, and he got to know him as a human being, right? Which we don't do anymore. It's just like, oh, you believe in Allah? Well, fuck you. You're like, oh, you believe in God? You're a terrible person. Like, you go to church on Sundays? Like, sorry, I can't have a conversation with you. Like, again, we live in a world that is, or a country that's supposed to be free to go to church at the mega church every Sunday, do whatever you want to do. And you can go, not you, but let's just say you went to that, but not for me. And then we could still do this podcast together, and we could still have conversations about guns, and we could still talk about going hunting, and we could still talk about the richest man in Babylon together, because it's okay for you not to believe what I believe. Like,
and that's what I'm saying is I'm very open to the ideas of different religions. Like, fine, like if that's what you want to do, sure. I'm saying where it loses me then is in like the competition of like mine's right, yours is wrong.
Right.
Like,
which is the problem with everything.
You know, like these wars that have been waged for like thousands of years. Like,
come
on, guys. Like, are they? If we break it down, are they any of them really that different? Like,
and
the thing people like, because something that so I'll have to like not quote, but I'll reference my brother, who was very big into like Middle Eastern studies. He studied abroad in Lebanon, blah blah blah. So I was picking his brain a little bit, and he was just like, like 75% of the Bible and the Quran are actually like the same word for word. Is like the difference is like 25%, and it's like the 25% that like focuses on Jesus as opposed to like someone else. It was just like essentially they're the same book, and like everyone's so like, oh my god, like blah blah blah. It's just. So I was just like, I'm sure all religions, unless you're like a Scientologist, but like all religions are like some sort of blending of the same kind of things. I mean, most of it is like, how to treat people, like how to like, whatever. I don't know.
I think that they should be read as a metaphysical book, not as a. But that's neither here nor there.
Yes.
I will say that the problem I do not study it because I have what I've studied in metaphysics, and that's what I believe in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a whole conversation for another day. I don't study the religions because to me I think it's a waste of time, and not. I guess you should. That's a generality, but like I'm not going to take time out of my day to sit down and study these two different books and be like, oh, the same, because I don't care. In essence, right? Like I feel like I'm on the right path of where I am and I'm growing in that. And the people that want to fight and condemn this don't know what your brother knows, because if you're going to fight and condemn it, then you should really be a master of it, in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
Like whoever the guy is that wrote the Carnivore Code, I remember his name, but if you read that book, it's literally wrote, and to me, in the aspect of if he was standing on a podium debating a vegan, he would make them cry. He has mastered it that much. Makes sense? So if that's a passion of yours, and if you choose to then live and die on that hill, you need to master it, not just be like, oh.
You can't know a couple sound, and that's what people do, is they latch on to a couple sound bites that they think sounds good, and then they try to argue it when they don't actually know what they're talking about. Right. And I mean, this is the same thing with religion. It's the same thing with politics. It's the same thing with diets. It's the same thing with everything.
It's our culture now. Our culture is to master nothing and be reactive to everything. And so, I think that book, The Religion with No Name, is super freaking good. I'm like halfway through it, and it's super interesting. Like,
I'll have to put that on the to read list. I got so many books for Christmas, dude. I have like I'm set for the year. Like I know that.
I think it's it's a better audiobook,
Okay.
probably than a hardback book to just listen to when you're driving or something. But it's a really good book, and it's interesting. Like, I don't know how we got on this.
Yeah, how did we get here?
All right, we'll bring it all back.
Yeah.
If religion's your thing, fine. Like, you
Sure.
want to go to the Catholic Church and give 10% like they tell you to, right?
Oh yeah, okay, that's how we got here.
So fine. If you believe that that's good in a thing, we'll make more fucking money and you can give more.
Yeah.
Look, like, it's going to feel better. It will feel better to put $1,000 in that envelope every month instead of $4.
Yeah.
Like, it's not bad. Again, we can't condemn money, right? And we were talking about Mother Teresa, but Mother Teresa understood, again, the principles of wealth.
Yeah.
Wealth is all around us.
Mhm.
The money in this book, the money didn't go away. It just fleeted through the hands of the people who didn't know how to properly handle the money, which is exactly what's happening right now with all the checks. They're going out and they're fleeting through the hands of the people that were not taught by design.
I think, remember I said I wanted to remember something? I think that's exactly what it is. And I think that's why these like stimulus checks or whatever are first of all, when they're 6 months apart, again, like it's not helping anyone. But that's the point is like
everybody's already been evicted. Like,
but so like, thanks, whatever. But that was the point I was going to make is like, it's very short-sighted. Like, it's not helping anyone. It's just like, all right, here's $600 to spend on whatever. And all that does is get immediately spent and then go right back up to the top where all the money is anyway, right? Because where all the money is, people own things, property, businesses, blah, blah, blah. Right. So here's $600. I'm going to spend $300 on like my rent. Well, that goes straight to my landlord. And then I'm going to spend $300 on, the new iPhone, and that goes straight to not Jobs, but Apple, whatever. And then like, so who did that help? All of that helped. That's why, and honestly, I just kind of putting this together now, but I remember reading an article like over the course of the pandemic, something about like the top like 10 corporations almost like doubled their wealth or something. And it's because like anytime, because people get these stimulus checks or whatever and the money, and then all they do is, instead of doing something productive with it, spend it on something, and it goes right back to the top.
Yep.
So
they needed a new TV when all like the pandemic stuff was happening, and of course she needed a new TV. It was planned. They weren't just spurring in the moment to going. But of course, she needed it right after the stimulus checks came, and she went to Costco to like look at TVs or whatever, and they were out of like 3/4 of the TVs because the guys like everybody just came in and bought TVs from the stimulus check, and I'm like, what just happened? And then I just heard a quote the other day. I think I sent you. They sent you an audio recording of it, and it was like, it can be said that wealthy men have big libraries. And so it can also be said that poor men have lots of TVs. And I was like, holy crap. Between that quote and this book, I'm like, that's what's happening.
Yeah, it's not like just the perfect representation of like it's not helping anyone. It's not.
No. And so to me, it's like, I'm passionate about this book because of what it did for my life. And I'm passionate about this book because of what I believe it can do for this country. Like, I literally believe this single book could change this country if it were taught in schools. Like, if we taught this to our children, because it's not that everybody would become a multi-billionaire. You could.
But that's not the point. It's just put yourself in a good situation. That's all this has ever been about, is put yourself in a better situation than you are today. That's I've never once claimed or even like pushed on any training client like, I'm going to get you on stage at Mr. Olympia. It's like, look, if that's your goal, great. Yeah. But like, my goal is to make you feel better and to make you move better and to like help you get there with as little hiccups as possible and no injuries.
Hey, like, more money will get you a better trainer, because guess what? The whatever trainer you become, the more you charge. It'll get you a better chiropractor, because the better chiropractor and busier you become, the more you charge, or you should, right? It'll get you better vitamins. It's going to get you that literally, and all of those things are going to make you feel better, which then is going to attract more money, because then you're going to have more time in your day that you can spend working, because you're not going to feel like a piece of shit all the time. Like, then you make more, and then you have more in life. Like, it compounds. Like this, they're not separate. All of them are the same.
Yeah.
You know, and the more you make, the more work you'll have, the more people you can employ, the more people you can employ, the more jobs then that they're created. Like, when we make you a little powerhouse, like a literal powerhouse of energy for finances, you then can create more for the world. Like, this is huge. Like, what this book does and portrays is so big. Like, it can't be understated. That, you know? So this needs to be taught in schools, but
I would agree.
nonetheless, that's all right. I teach my daughter, and she'll run and own all the kids that go to school. So like, I was just, it is what it is.
Yeah, man. Before we go, we've been going for about an hour, but I was in the bathroom before we signed on, and I was looking at this magazine, and it literally is the epitome of what frustrates me with like fitness culture. And I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it, so like let me know. But so it's all right. So this Jessica Alba. That's not what I'm showing you. But the words by my finger where I'm tapping.
Strength, cardio, abs.
Right above that. This routine is magic. If that's not what's completely wrong with these stupid magazines and fitness finsta Instagram professionals, like no routine is like that drives me nuts. Like,
hasn't every routine been magic for the last 35 years in a magazine? Like, isn't that how they start?
Probably, yeah. Like, that's how but it oh my god, like I saw that and it literally enraged me while I was in the bathroom, and I was just like, this is why we are in this situation where everyone gets frustrated with their health and fitness, and this constant, I'm going to try, I'm not going to try, I fail, because they set up these ridiculous expectations. Like, let me, I don't want to go too far into this.
I'm 100% certain Jessica Alba doesn't do that.
Yeah, so I'm going to say, let's take a look at this cover one more time. So everything here is very deliberate. So
also, everything
this routine is magic, strength, cardio, abs. Let's plaster one of the most beautiful women in the world right next to it. And then, you know, there's, what else is there on here? I didn't really take a good picture, but like, so now, like, here's just the epitome of setting people up to fail. Like, do this routine. I guarantee you, I didn't even open the magazine, but I guarantee you it's like, do some body weight squats and then hold the plank for 30 seconds and like, yay, buns and core. Like, that's not going to get you anywhere. Like, it's not a magic fix. It's not a magic pill.
No.
It drives me absolutely up a wall because and I get it, because like that's what people want to see. They want to see like, oh, how can I get fit quick? How can I get rich quick? Like, how can I do everything quick and not have to put the work or the time into it? That's not how these things work. That's why like I love the fact that like generally my channel is dedicated to health and fitness. Here you are talking about financial health. It's the same goddamn stuff. It's about the principles. It's about putting in the time, putting in the work, doing what you need to do to make yourself in a better situation, whether that be losing weight, getting stronger, getting more financially resilient, like whatever. It's the same stuff. Sorry, I just had to rant about that for a minute.
Somebody who's done this, you said getting more resilient. Okay, that's a perfect example. Coronavirus hits. Yeah. If you've spent time and energy into your fitness and your health, you don't have to worry. I haven't worried since the beginning. I'm not going to worry. There's nothing to worry about. It is what it is. I've built up an immune system that can handle shit. Period. Okay. Now a financial collapse happens. All right. Well, if you didn't build up just like you did your fitness to handle a virus, you need to build up your finances to handle a collapse so that you can be okay and weather the storm. It's no different. And real quick, I don't have my phone on me, but my buddy sent me that Cosmopolitan picture that I sent you and Corey.
Okay.
And, like, he just knew it would drive me fucking bananas. Like, so I don't know if it's real or what, but I'm pretty sure the front cover of Cosmo magazine has this. She's fat. It's a fat woman on there. And it was
Oh,
like,
right, the health or whatever.
Right. It was like, this is healthy, it says. That's what it is. Not
Yeah.
beautiful. This is healthy. And
It's not.
it's so insane to me because it's not.
No.
Like, take 30
It's fine.
seconds.
So here's the difference for me though. Like if that's what you want, like if you're okay being overweight or fat or whatever, if that's like okay with you, fine. That is your decision. That is your decision. You're a human being. You're whatever.
Of course. The same with your religion.
But by twisting it around and painting it as this is health, that is a lie. It's not true.
Right. Like, Google for 30 minutes what obesity does to your body and how much faster you're going to die. Like, again, I have friends that are obese and that are overweight. I don't care. I'm great friends with them. We don't do this.
I'm not saying it makes you a bad person, but don't twist it. It's the same thing as this. It's the same thing. It's twisting people's expectations, saying you're okay, you're healthy, you're fine. Like two of those are okay. Like, yeah, all right, you're okay, you're fine, but you're not healthy. Like this. Like you're
pandemic. Sorry, the real pandemic we have is obesity, and they were doing a thing about it. I can't remember. They did a study, and it was something like people who are obese with coronavirus. In general, I believe what it was is,
I'm sure the number skyrockets.
Well, yeah, it's. I don't remember what that number is, but it skyrockets. But what they found out why is because if you are exposed to the virus, you or I, our bodies will take it in, and it will react within a reasonable time frame to this virus and kick its fucking ass. Right? If you are obese and you're fat, it takes your body an average of 3 to 5 days longer to find it. So it takes a deeper hold to your system because it's dealing with all these other unhealthy things.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, look, it's this. Yeah, I mean, look, it's the same thing. Everything when you're overweight or obese, everything is exacerbated, right? Even like a cold, because your body has to spend so much energy dealing with other things. Even normal body functions, like it doesn't have the time to fight off other things.
Right. So again.
I mean, I've quoted to you in 2018. And this is going by BMI, which isn't like the end all be all for stats, but it's a good way to get a bunch of numbers in one place. In 2018, Americans became 40% of Americans, according to BMI statistics. If anybody doesn't know what BMI, the body mass index, it's like a height to weight ratio, are obese. 40%.
Yep. I say it all the time.
So how many Americans are there? Like 30 million? Roughly?
300 million, probably.
Is it that many? I always I forget a zero somewhere. But whatever. 30 million, 300 million. That then means it's either, it has to be 300 million. That's 120 some odd million people are obese. That's insane.
Yeah. And if you look at the numbers of people with coronavirus, I'm sure that's worse. I guarantee that if you find real data, which you're probably not going to be able to find, but if you could find real data. Also, if anybody has ever seen published the false positive or false negative rate for the coronavirus test, that'd be great if you could send that to Len or I, because it's literally impossible to find. Because I wonder why they don't want you to know how many of them are falsely positive, but that's neither here nor there. And that should be something that should be readily available because it's kind of an important test at this point. But I bet that if you could look at countries that had less obesity rates and coronavirus things, I bet that you would see the parallels.
That, right? I'm sure.
Like
I said, obesity exacerbates everything, whether it's heart disease, whether it's cancer, whether it's whatever.
So you can't say, especially in today's climate, with this supposed healthy thing that's happening, right? You can't say this is healthy while it's killing more people. And people will just eat it up because this is what happens.
This is what they want to hear. It makes everybody feel okay.
You can justify not changing.
Yeah.
You can justify it. And that's okay. And I know people that are fine with it, and that's fine. Some people may.
Like I said, I'm not condemning it. I'm not saying you're a bad person or that I don't like you. No, but it's factually untrue.
Correct.
Like it's a
very
lie.
Very much like if you have X and Y chromosomes.
Yeah.
What you are. Like, I'm sorry. The same person that says that also wants to be like, it's science. Okay, well then, like, only science if it supports your claim. Like, I don't know what, you know. So we had. Oh no, I'm not. I won't. We'll
All right. I think this is a good place to wrap it up. I got to go buy a car. So,
yes. Congratulations.
Well, I'm looking. So my car's about to explode. So I've been sitting on it. I haven't really had to drive to work for like a month and a half now. So so I've been just saving. But yeah, today's the day. So me and my father-in-law are heading out, and he's apparently he's the car deal guru. So I'm very much looking forward to this because I've never bought a car from like a dealership. I've always bought my car from my dad. It was like, hey, here's a couple $1,000. I don't have to deal with anyone. Thanks. Yeah, man. So that's today's plan.
I like it. Let me know how it goes.
Will do. All right. Nice chatting with you, as always. Appreciate it. I am going to finish Dune, and then I will hop on The Richest Man in Babylon, so hopefully we can have a little bit more of a back and forth next Saturday.
I like it.
But appreciate you, and I will see you next week, dude.